What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Blazed and Confused, the podcast where curiosity is high, confidence is questionable, and logic usually shows up late. As always, I'm Max.
And I'm Noah.
Yeah, welcome back, Noah. You had a week off. Kane filled in for you.
Yeah, man. Hey, shout out to our guest Kane. He did awesome last week. I hope he had a good time.
Oh, he loved it. He wants to be back, but we got to find something that's interesting and kid friendly again.
Well, I'm back, so we're gonna be interested, but we're not gonna be kid friendly. It's kind of kid friendly, but it's not kid friendly.
Yeah, I mean to an extent, right? So like
this one ain't terrible. Like
no, but if you start telling a kid that their government, you can't trust them, you end up with kids like you.
What's so bad about that?
Not trusted their government, bud. That's what I'm saying. Just day one, they're gonna come out the womb. I don't trust it.
Hey, dude, my kid's doing like 3.5 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. You already been
he's
like
definitely
reading
coming
books.
out with tinfoil. Just
we're sitting next to the wife reading books. This is your government spying on you. Have you heard of flock cameras? Well, little child, you will.
Have you seen all the new deflock things that they got going on?
Dude.
It's a huge deal, man.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I do hate that somebody's watching me, but somebody's watching you no matter if there's a flock camera or not. Flock cameras are really good at catching cars that have fled from state to state or city to city. It pings them on the flock. Cops can go and get them. So if it's somebody who committed murder,
it for that, and that's cool. But there's also there's really no limitations to these things. I mean,
exactly.
If they can get like your signal, which is what they're saying that they can do, like they can track your signal on your phone and a signal.
They can do that without the flock camera, homie.
And
if you got Wi-Fi in your house, they're listening. Yeah,
absolutely.
Every TV you buy, every refrigerator, whatever, it has capabilities to be tapped into. If it has a speaker in it and it has Bluetooth capabilities, it is already recording you. While you may be upset about that, 90% of it gets thrown away. It doesn't matter, but it's happening.
I seen a post today a person made. They're like, everyone that's about deflock, have you really thought about it? Like, it's not just them tracking you, but what happens when we have the next pandemic? They're able to tell who left their house, when they left their house.
Right, but they can, again, most doorknobs, if you have a touchpad doorknob that you can unlock from your phone, it already is sending that data somewhere else. It's documented as security for if someone were to break into your house using a PIN, then they know. But it's always, that data, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's data of you stored somewhere that gets removed. Could you imagine if they truly had spies on every fucking person on the world?
There's no way that I'm that important to spy on.
Exactly, and it wouldn't be monitored scrutinally. But
no,
there's people out there.
It's the same.
It's the modern day doomsday bunker people.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I wear a lot of tinfoil, but I'm not that far into the tinfoil. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a huge fan of the flock cameras, but
right.
I don't know. I think the government's already. I mean,
they got everything on your phone.
They know what's going on.
Is your number one enemy.
Oh,
it doesn't matter.
Ask my wife. I'm on that thing all the time. They know exactly what I'm doing. So
no kidding.
But
speaking of
it ties
tinfoil,
into what we're going to talk about today.
Exactly. Speaking of tinfoil and spies.
And not trusting your government.
Yeah, number one. This is the OG, for our timeline. I'm sure that our great-grandparents or their grandparents had something similar to this, not as crazy and up-to-date. But MKUltra, it's relevant nowadays because it's coming into the light more than it did in the 70s.
Well, they're having trials about it now, which is kind of crazy. We're
going to, obviously, like we always do, in every episode, we get into the history of it first, right? So you and I said, we're going to make this a two-parter. Because if we did this all in one shot, you guys would be with us for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Not kidding. And that's with us getting sidetracked.
Don't get me wrong. As much as I love to hear myself, I know nobody else wants to hear me for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I don't want to hear myself, or I know no one else wants to hear me for 2.5 hours. Hell, my wife will listen to me for maybe 45 minutes. That's it for the whole day.
I get like a minute and a half, but yeah.
Yeah, see, I was going to say, you'll earn more over time. It's just married man, man. But so obviously, like I said, we're going to get into the more of the history and the concrete stuff that has been proven before recent times and speculations followed, which, we do in every episode. This one's just a big one. So if you already know the history of it, just go to the second part. If you don't, stick with us. I'm going to get through it. Next week, we'll have the beans of it. So MKUltra, if I were to say it, most people are going to be like, 60s, 70s, Cold War, right? I mean, that's what I thought. Did you think the same?
Yes and no. I knew a little bit about MKUltra.
Yeah.
So it's during the Cold War for sure. And a lot of people think that it was just focused on the Cold War because of
Nah,
what it
dude.
is, like with the mind control and all that.
Yeah, this starts back in 45 and 47 of
Yeah, dude,
1900s.
it goes so far back.
Which is crazy because the first thing that obviously this correlates to is something that you and I have talked about many of times, and we've had ideas of maybe doing an episode on this, but it's kind of a hot topic people don't like. This all follows after World War II. So the big bad guys of World War II were the Nazis, and they did all these experiments and shit. Right? Everybody hears about them. What's to say they are the only ones doing it? Because I don't know about you, but I do know about Noah. He doesn't trust his government to begin with, let alone to believe only the bad guys are doing these experiments. But how'd we find out this kills people? So the beginning of this is Operation Paperclip. Different name before it starts. As I just mentioned, the U.S. recruits hundreds of former Nazi scientists to come and join this operation, right? Everybody kind of has heard about this because of NASA. That's the big conspiracy. Oh, these guys were really bad, but we kept them alive and didn't send them to jail because they're smart. Well, this happened more than just sending rockets to space. Some of these, as I mentioned, conducted some unethical human experiments. So that kind of becomes public later on. But on top of this, we've somehow find out that Japan had a unit for 731 that conducts biological and human experiments. Same time, right? So this is leading up to what now American intelligence thinks that, these enemies discovered these methods by doing psychological warfare. So why did we not do it? Like, they learn all kinds of stuff and it keeps people from wanting to fight. So, like I mentioned, what made us not want to do any of that? Not saying that we should have, but what if we did and we didn't tell anybody?
I tell you right now, it'd be hard to. I mean, these Nazi scientists that were doing this back in the 40s, man. Did you read on like what they were giving these people and what
Oh
and like
yeah,
they
they
were
were like
trying to get out
injecting
of them?
mercury into people. Like, it was
Oh,
terrible.
dude, morphine.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure I say this right, and I'm probably gonna butcher it. They were giving them barbiturates, pumping them full of morphine. And if you don't know what a barbiturate is, it's basically like depressant medicine.
Antidepressant. Yeah,
Yeah, like an
it's not
antidepressant.
good. Yeah.
Sorry. Um, and hallucinogens. And when I say hallucinogens, that's pretty broad term.
Yeah.
But a big one was
I mean, they were doing everything.
mescaline.
Yeah, mescaline.
Um, yeah,
That's what
mescaline.
like
Sorry.
peyote or something like that.
Yeah, dude. And what they were calling it was truth serum,
Yeah.
because they were using it on all the prisoners of war from everywhere during that
Yeah.
time.
And
The
this is
Polish, the
what
Russians, the
this
Jews,
is what Nazi
everybody.
Germany
Like,
was doing. And
yeah, that's what I'm
especially
saying. Like,
where
that's
we're
it's
leading up is because of, this is where you and I decided this is exactly when America probably started using their research for other things. Because the big Cold War comes. And I have a book from military manuals that is about how to spot a communist a communist sympathizer and all this other stuff, and how to survive in communist areas. And dude, it was crazy. Like, people talk about like Manson panic,
Yeah.
helter skelter. This is scarier than that, because
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
is scared of communism.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even today, people,
Yeah.
it's not so much like scared of it, but people today, you could say they're scared, but it's more of like, hey, we just reject communism.
Yeah, it's like
We were,
Voldemort, dude.
yeah, it's just no, you know.
Yeah.
You were talking about when the Americans got into it. It was, back in 43. When was the CIA created?
That is a good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
1947, underneath
Oh,
Harry
no
S.
shit.
Truman. Okay. Before that, in 1943, when we told all these Nazi doctors, hey, you guys can't be drugging people up and interrogating them with all these drugs. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, then, 1943, we don't have the CIA yet. But you know what we do have? The Office of Strategic Services.
Oh.
And in 43, the Office of Strategic Services began developing a truth drug. Not a truth serum, a truth drug.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
that would produce truthfulness
Yeah.
from
Which is
interrogated people.
right.
But then, have you ever heard of Project Chatter?
I've not. The only one I have next is Project Bluebird.
So, I guess we'll call it a coincidence. In 1947, coincidentally the same year the CIA was created,
Mm-hmm.
the United States Navy initiated Project Chatter. Project Chatter was the first experiment testing LSD on humans to get
They did
mind
this to
control
Yeah. They did this to
or
like
like
what kind of
just
people though?
like our people.
Like random Joe Schmoes?
No, like sailors.
So it was American sailors, not just random people.
Correct.
Damn.
Time. That last part, I have no info on.
What?
It just says
Our
human
people?
subjects. It just
Yeah.
says the human subject, so I don't know. So that part might be a lie. I might
I
get
get
called
you.
on it. Is what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, no, I did read about that. The reason I didn't even think it was that early was because I had something that, was like the fallout of that testing in 53. So even before that happened, there was Project Bluebird. Well, I guess not before, rather, because the date I had was wrong. Um, so I'm glad you caught that as an earlier date. I had the Project Bluebird in the 50s,
Yes,
and
and that started in like 1950, and it
yep,
ended up getting renamed,
yeah. But this was
and it was
our
nowhere near as cool of a name.
no. But we also, with this one, I think truly your original Chatter project had been going on for 3 years. They were testing animals and humans and anything they could get their hands on, whether it be us, POWs, whatever. Um, they were doing these tests. So 3 years after that, and 5-ish years after we come to light with all these things that these doctors did under the funny mustache man, that we now are applying it as our own. And we're kind of hoping this doesn't ever see the light of day of where we got it. Well, Project Bluebird, as I mentioned, its goals: forced confessions, prevent captured spies from revealing secrets, creating amnesia, and controlling behavior. You want to know how they did this, Noah? A combination of things.
A bunch of drugs, man. And
Yep, it starts with the drugs.
you know which ones they were.
Oh, yeah, all the mind ones, the
You get
melters.
You get
LSD,
LSD,
your shrooms, uh, damn
mescaline. I
it,
said it wrong
yeah,
again.
mescaline,
Mescaline,
peyote, all of
morphine.
the mind altering drugs. Yeah, the ones that really mess your brain up. So they're
Yeah.
pumping you full of these, and then also just to cap it on there, I don't believe in this next one, but hypnosis. Now it is proven, but I feel like by the time it would set in, you have so much time invested in just convincing the person to do whatever you want, like not reveal secrets. That's some James Bond shit. Um, then you get isolation because like we've said before, if your brain is in the dark, it creates things on its own. After that, for so long, you're gonna snap. Whether it's for your confessions or forgetting things or controlling how you are, because um, you know, if you get punished so many times, just like as you would a kid, if you get told not to go climb on the counter and you get your ass smacked every time you do it, you're gonna remember I shouldn't get up there because I'm gonna get spanked. Same thing with this. If if I misbehave and they tell me I'm gonna go sit in the hole, I'm gonna sit in the hole and lose my mind. On top of that, the other fun one, I know everybody listening at some point has experienced sleep deprivation. I don't care if it was when you were a baby and you don't remember it, but your brain
We've talked
does.
about it too.
Yep. If you don't sleep, you go mad. You physically cannot function. And there's a test that was done. I'd love to do
Wasn't
an
it
episode on it.
the Russian sleep
Yes,
experiment?
they did the
Yes,
Russian
dude.
sleep, and then there was also the campus experiment, where one dorm was in charge, or one person was in charge of the entire dorm, and they didn't think they could get out, so they lived a small super society just by the 7 people. Very similar to the Russian one. People didn't sleep, shit like that. You go mad, and these are all, of course, the first, because as you mentioned, they weren't founded before anything else. This is the first official CIA modification program. Behavioral modification, let you remind that,
The
because
weird part to me, reading about reading about Artichoke is what it ended up being renamed,
yep,
but Project
yep,
Bluebird in quotations or parentheses, whatever you want to say, um, was the mind altering is they were trying to get them to perform assassinations
yeah, dog.
involuntarily,
They wanted to literally mind control somebody.
which is fucking nuts. Okay, and I'm sure, and
Yeah, this
I'm
is
gonna
where
get
a lot of people are gonna start getting their eyes are gonna go kind of big if they've never gone through this before, because this is legitimately documented.
and this is no longer speculation. Like there are trials going on right now that we'll get in with part two because that's where some of the conspiracy comes in. But everything we're telling you right now is factual. It is documented. It is declassified. Um, some of the conspiracies that come with this though is one of those like in a
Where did it
recent
stop?
assassination though is
Yep.
yes, where is it stopped? Because in a recent assassination and even farther back, I mean, I'm not going to
It's
go
been
into
going
like the
on
school
since this
shooting part
project
of it.
got announced.
But
Yep.
if you were to look at a possible a Charlie Kirk, you look at the Las Vegas shooting,
Yep.
people that are saying, "Hey, I did not do that," but
And
they're
then
there
somehow everything magically drops in their lap. You know
right
what's
into their
crazy to
lap.
me?
Yes, and then
The
all of a
thing that
sudden,
makes me believe that, Noah, is because for years we've immortalized these fucking shooters or whatever, and I get heated about this. We've given them a platform where they've literally been able to become famous or
absolutely,
infamous rather. Here's my
absolutely.
issue.
There's
When did
only
it
a
go
few of these.
from like back before 1950 where they were a bad dude and they were confirmed to be a bad dude? Nowadays it's just like this dude snapped. We don't know. Never did anything else in their life, but here they are.
If you want my God honest opinion with you, I think that not just this country, but I think the entire planet, every
Yeah.
continent on this planet that allows big pharma to enter their country has a mass shooting problem or a mass stabbing problem or some type of mass casualty event with people who are not mentally right because of pills.
But
I think that with
here's
those
the
pills,
hole in
though,
that ship. Hold on.
hold on, this is where I'll get fucking nutty for you. I think some of these pills, such as even, I'd say like an antidepressant on some of them, some of the like ADHD pills and stuff like that, you excuse me, you find more and more of these. I don't want to say kids because that you would it puts your brain
Individuals.
into a different place, but these individuals all have something in common. There's a
But
95% chance
here's
that
my
they're on some type of
right. But I've got
pill.
two
And
holes for your ship.
okay, okay,
Number one, most of the stats from that is because these are the more populated countries. You could say it's big pharma or whatever. Anybody that doesn't have that is either third world or just above poverty line, where even if these murders and whatever are happening per capita, theirs equal out to be either greater than or less than ours, just because of how massive of a population we have in all these countries. Number two, you made a statement about like these depressants and antidepressants and all these other things that have something in common. They're all treating a mental illness of some kind. Some are not near as serious as others, but there's already a baseline of there's something. I don't want to say wrong because I know people that are on antidepressants. I've been on them. It's not
no, and I'm
something that's
not
wrong
saying that.
with you, right?
Yeah,
I know, but
no,
what
please
I'm
don't.
saying
Yeah, for
is,
everyone out there, please don't take that the wrong way. Like, by all means, they help people. They
yeah,
are good. Otherwise, I don't. They would not be out there. And I'm not saying
no,
I'm anti-medicine
but
at all.
that's why
Um,
there's these conspiracies is because people are like, well, like the stats you were saying that, oh, it's always these ones with this or that. Well, there's reasons that can also be argued the opposite way. And that's
I
why I was
think
touching on that.
no, yeah, I think that's more more frequently. I feel like you find doctors that are like, here, this pill will just fix you, you
Yeah.
know.
But I
It's
mean, that's
like, I mean,
also
you're almost like a guinea pig, because there's so many different brands that have different side
but
effects
that's
that'll
also
help you.
because like you just said, there's so many now that
Right.
the market is flooded with all these things. But we need to get back on
Absolutely.
to we need to get back. So as you said, Artichoke is starting now about these mind controls, right? So now is
But
when
yeah,
the
and that led us into the assassinations, which led us down the rabbit hole here.
yep, and that's a huge
Um,
one because there's
I mean, it
never a
really
good
is.
answer.
No, I mean, but
Just like
it
if you
makes you
go,
think like like you said though, where did we stop with the
yep,
mind control? Because
yep,
according to the records, this was shut down in what, the 70s, right?
yep. Well, late
72
70s, 77, I think, is when everything kind of like completely goes
officially.
under and they start
Okay.
telling everybody. But I mean,
Yeah,
this
because it was
is
revealed to the public in 75.
yeah. So now
Yeah,
is when
which we'll get
the
into.
yeah, we're 53 is when the big name comes out. Everybody's heard it somewhere in a movie, friends talking, TV, news, it doesn't matter. MKUltra is official in 1953. So the CIA director at the time is Alan Dulles or Dulles, some variation of that. He approves the project for go. The director of the project is Sidney Gottlieb or Gottlieb, and the nickname for her is the Black Sorcerer. I'm not privy to why because I didn't look it up, but that's a pretty, as we've said before, crazy ass nickname. Everything gets a cool nickname.
Yeah, but I mean,
Um,
that's like a cool nickname, but some of the Nazi doctors had some cool nicknames, and they're
yeah, oh
terrible
yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
people. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look
Yep.
back, it's like, oh yeah, cool nickname. Was she a good person though? Well, when you read about Project MK Ultra, you might go, no.
Yeah. And even nonetheless, this dude was the director, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, of this project and then later on other projects. So his goal with this project is to manipulate human thought before America's enemies could. So this eventually comes out to state there were 149 sub-projects, which we've already named 3. Could you imagine having to... I mean, it's like being on a boss at a job site where there are 150 people that you have to tell every task of what they're going to do and keeping track of whoever they hire to do theirs. I know it can be done, but fuck that. I don't want to control
Agreed.
150 projects in total.
No, hell no.
That just, yeah.
With us trying, it wasn't so much like to not. Sorry, let me restart. It wasn't just so much to like prepare our troops, for mind control, because we had completely believed that the Russians and the North Koreans were using it on our prisoners of war to get information. We're like, hey, like before, we're going to use it to get information out of our prisoners of war too, that, we've got from them.
Yep.
We went as far as to come up with a scheme to drug Fidel Castro so that we could mind control him.
To either fight other cartels or persuade his government. Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, and this is where, I become a conspiracy nut again. If we would have gone through with it and actually succeeded, somehow mind-controlled Fidel Castro, what
if
does...
we did and that's why you had the hippo? Go on, though. I'm sorry.
What does America do with Cuba? If Fidel convinces everybody, hey, we need to just become one with America, you let America take over, what do we do? What was our end goal with trying to drug Fidel? Or are we just going to run a country through somebody?
I think it was just to get another, because Cuba was at the time siding or allowing Russian projects to concur around them.
Right.
And that's where the big scare was.
Yeah, you get in so with much, JFK and all that,
Well, no, I mean, just
missile crisis and all that shit.
If we were to control Cuba, that would control our closest island to our mainland. You know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah.
That one's, you got to put your tinfoil on because you're letting these other thoughts in. That's why we wanted Cuba. I don't care if somebody tells you we wanted them for oil or coke or whatever. No. We wanted them because we were scared of Russia, who was literally at our back door, right by our mainland, and we had no control to be able to say, hey, keep these fucking boats out of here, please. It wasn't happening. So, we had the idea that Russia is going to spy on us with boats from their island. You know how far that is? Like, we can barely get Google Earth to work in, like, the 2000s. In the 60s, they ain't doing that. That's how, like I said in the beginning, that's how scary communism was, dude. Like, we were scared of that shit. That was like COVID, but in 60s. Don't go outside or you're going to catch communism. Like, it's fucking nuts. And, I apologize to all the folks of that era, but I mean, I'm sure that me saying that, and if they're still around, I'm sure they see the similarities. So,
dude, I tell you what, fear mongering has been going around for, since dawn of time. Dawn of time.
Yeah, but that's the number one way to keep people at bay, dog. Even if it's not your government doing it. 110%
is.
Yeah, that's just people that are diehard being like, dude, check out what they did in here.
That's it makes me think of the famous quote. I don't know if it's famous, but I think it should be famous. But it's from Batman: The Dark Knight Rises with the Joker. When the Joker says dare and the world yields.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think about it, someone just goes, hey, we got nukes. We might do something. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Oh shit. Pump the brakes.
Ukraine's
Hold on.
in a war with Russia and we're helping them. Now we might get nuked. And now everyone's scared. You go back to the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
And during that Cold War era.
We keep fucking around North Korea. They're going to bomb us. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, could you imagine? The grade school I went to used to be a fallout shelter, right?
Yeah, that's nuts.
And you don't think about it now, but back then, it's like, dude, they had fallout shelters. They were doing like practice drills. Where we did practice drills for active shooter or whatnot, or tornadoes or that. They're doing air raid drills with nukes, though, and like
Yeah, dude, it's
That's just
nuts.
nuts to me.
And I feel like every country of every era of every generation, so on and so forth, from the fucking dawn of man, has had some version of all of this. So I think while I'd love to say MKUltra was crazy, man, I think this shit's been going on for before this. This is just now a modern era where shit's getting out and people are saying it. Back then, if it got out, people would be like, "They're a witch, burn them." Like that's not true. Burn them. They're a witch. You know, it just it's nuts. And this is when LSD becomes like their drug of choice at this point. Like they're like it's easy to produce, it's discreet, it's, easy for us to administer everything.
Now,
People literally go ahead.
I am correct in saying this. I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's what I'm trying to say here. The CIA produced and made and manufactured LSD. They were the first ones to make it.
That's where it came from.
Like when it says that, and they leave this part out. Obviously, when you read about it, but they just say, "Oh yeah, they used LSD." Like, "Oh yeah, our buddy down in the trailer park there makes good LSD, and we got the batch from him, and we started experimenting." It's like, no, dude.
Yeah, nobody
the CIA
knows
come up with LSD, and now you got years later that you got people just taking it at festivals, parties, whatever, and it's like,
all the way back to one of our first 5 episodes. Somehow some dude that lives in a trailer park that managed to not blow himself up, was also able to create LSD. And then reproduce it and distribute it and share the recipe with somebody. That's what happened. Somebody in the CIA knew it, probably got hooked on the shit, found out how to make it, went and told 5 different buddies and said, "Dude, try it out. We got to keep making this shit. Let's give it to our friends. We'll sell it to them, make money, blah, blah, blah." And so on and so forth. And here we are still in 2026. LSD is still being produced and distributed. You know what is crazy? This immediately made me think of, if they're putting LSD on the street to make people more docile, whatever the hell we're doing with it, they would apparently get people hooked on LSD and then kill them by putting ricin on it or something. So now that immediately makes me think of the other time that, men of a certain ethnicity were administered HIV things for either drugs or whatever it may be, that ended up spreading that pretty heavily in one town.
Not only that, or how about the fact that the CIA literally put crack, and then out in is that Compton? Did they bring it to Compton? And then they brought heroin to
Arkansas.
Harlem.
Yeah, just to test the different reactions.
But what's crazy is they tested it on one ethnicity in both scenarios, but either side of the country.
Yeah, but here's what I don't understand, and this is genuine. What wigs me out. We know that these experiments happen. Do you feel better knowing that there has been a study that knows exactly what to do and how to handle it and how to treat overdosing and everything else? Or are you happier not knowing that anything happened and that all of these things are a mystery and we don't know anything about it? Because personally, I think I side with the first. Like, it does suck that these experiments were conducted, and I feel terrible for the people who went through it. But
110%. I feel terrible for them people. I like to live in a fantasy world though that is cupcakes and lollipops.
Yeah.
Where I can trust my government, and shit like this though that makes me not trust my government.
Exactly.
I know that you love to make fun of me for it, but it's like, look, man, you look back and there's trust issues for a reason.
No, I get it. I understand. It's been that way since, the first ruler, dude. It's because, it starts as envy of power, not necessarily now. But then after that, it becomes, well, I'm not going to trust them because they're telling me what I can and can't do, and fuck them for doing that. When in reality, it's things that have been set in place for a reason. And I hate to be that dweeb that's like, there's rules for a reason. Well, there is, though. Because if there was a lawless society, I mean, like we're eventually going to get to with that dorm room, If there's no laws set in place, it is sheer chaos. Could you imagine sheer chaos with the population we have?
Oh, I mean,
Nobody regulating
as much as
anything?
everyone thinks it's just a movie, you look at The Purge.
Well,
That's, I
yeah,
mean,
but
if
that
you
would
get a
be purge
lawless society,
24/7.
but that's the thing, you get a lawless society, eventually it will be reined in, and that's what you will end up with, is something like that. A
Yeah,
society that is, for 364 days a year, completely pretty well calm and docile.
but it would be
Crime
global. It
goes
wouldn't
down.
be national. It would be global. Because if we have fallout, some dumb fuck's gonna get into an old missile silo and launch one, and then it's everybody that's now paying the price, and it's all across the world.
Well, that's the thing, though. That was the government putting it on. If you watch the movies, and you remember the government put it on, right?
Right?
And then it was like the third movie. They
They
experimented with
overtake
the
it.
purge.
Yeah, yeah,
They experiment with the purge, and it was the first purge. And once again, they did it in a low income area with
yep,
project housing and all that. But really, all it was a cleansing. They wanted to clear out all that, um, the low income and the homeless and all that.
yeah,
And they found that it worked. And then by what is it? I think it's the second movie, but you have travelers from across the country
yep,
coming in.
yep.
You know,
And it just throws everything off kilter. Because then on
yeah,
top of
but
that,
I
now
mean,
you've got
you think the second that you think, oh, my government would never do that. Read up, they'd do
yeah,
it. You
yeah.
know,
Well, especially with this,
my
dude,
government would never
because
do mind control. Well,
yeah,
MKUltra was way before either one
they
of us
proved
was
it.
even thought of. You
But
know,
don't worry though, they didn't use it, Noah. They didn't use it. They just had it in
yeah,
case they needed to, and they
yeah,
tested it a
they didn't
lot.
use it. And then when they shut it down in the 70s, okay, after they got called out, they get shut down in the 70s, and all of a sudden, there's 150, um, there's 150 different research projects, like you said, 140 or 150,
Yeah,
whatever you
yeah, yeah,
said.
yeah. That all fall under the big MKUltra umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, out of those 150 research projects, they're still actively trying to scrap everything back together because everything was destroyed.
yep. But that's
But
again.
you're
Let
right.
me be
My
the
government
devil's
would.
advocate.
But you're right. My government would never do
No,
that.
I
They
I
just
do
don't want
think
it to fall into the wrong hands or something. And then the
that's what I'm
Chinese and the
saying.
Russians
Exactly. It's just tests,
figure out
Noah.
mind
You gotta
control.
believe. You gotta believe. It's
I know,
just
I know.
tests.
I gotta believe my
It's so
government
hard though
would
because you
never
think,
do this to us.
yep, like I
Never,
said, what
ever.
if it's not just our government? Okay, hold on. We're not doing conspiracies today. Back to where we were.
That's where
We're
you're
at
wrong,
50.
but I do them
Yeah,
every day.
shut up. We're at 53 now. We've progressed maybe a few years, but this is when the CIA starts developing safe houses. Not as what they are today. These are Operation Midnight Climax safe houses. So what these are is the CIA is still conducting experiments on high profile clients and their employees and shit like that. And the reason they're doing this is because they're renting apartments, putting up one-way mirrors with, adjoining rooms. They hire prostitutes. These people are unknowingly
Hell
dosed with
yeah.
LS. Yeah, right. These people are unknowingly being dosed with LSD. And, at that point in time, it could be on paper, it could be on a piece of clothing, it could be in your water, it could be in everything. So nobody knows where LSD was being put. And they were doing this not just to test that, but they would also record the interactions. Now, huge breach of privacy for a lot of these people. But what they were doing was testing what LSD did. Did it, coerce somebody to reveal a secret? If a CIA agent, I mean, they tested it on their own agents, police officers, politicians, everything. Could in situation involving those ladies of the night or men of the night improve interrogation while on LSD, or could we just manipulate their behavior in total? So this was the strangest confirmed operation. Now, mind you, this isn't speculation. This is confirmed. This was blown out before trials. This was what was announced when they said shit in 77. So that's one thing. So to add to this level of, stuff the CIA's got their fingers in, right? Um, Universities and hospitals, as well as research labs and psychologists, are all getting secret funding from CIA directly or from, umbrella corporations that are set up to disguise the um, donations. So a lot of researchers and, doctors and everything else didn't even know that the CIA funded it. And I think that was done on purpose. So this wasn't just done in the US, it was also done in Canada. So, big one was, I'll name a few of them. Dr. Ewan Cameron from Canada. They were known for doing drug induced comas, electroshock, um, playing the same sound for weeks on end, memory destruction, and psychic driving. I don't know exactly what that details, but psychic driving was listed. And a lot of these people that began these were entered because, like you had said earlier, of having anxiety or depression. So this is a big one where people are like, "Fuck, they're picking on the people that are at their lowest." Um, and a lot of people that went through this couldn't remember family members or some of just basic life skills. We've talked about electroshock therapy before. I mean, there's reports of people coming out of that are just vegetables. Like they're alive, but they're not. Um, this was all done by this doctor. So now, just to equal it out here, we had an army scientist named Frank Olson that would secretly dose people or get dosed, I'm sorry, by LSD. Um, he falls from a New York window years or days after he's officially drugged. And they say that, oh, he had unplugged his own life. We'll say that instead of the big word. Um, and now, after all this has gone on, they find out that he was drugged as an MKUltra experiment, basically. And it led to his death. So, again, they're doing it to us now. Now it's a bigger conspiracy and why it's on this podcast. Because this is confirmed as one of MKUltra's experiments. And now it's led to an American death by an American experiment.
One of their
Yes.
experiments. They
Yep.
got 150 different projects underneath this umbrella of MK Ultra. Um, have you looked into any of the other ones?
There's so many. Like,
Dude, there's
there's a
so
ton.
many. Like, you got the MK Delta, the big ones that I seen that the it just feeds my antitrust for government.
Mm-hmm.
Um, was the MK search,
Yeah.
and the MK search is just the name is what they called it for
Yeah,
the
it's
continuation
part
of
of
the
this
MK
project.
Ultra. Yeah, is
Yep.
all it is. It's just like, oh, okay, so the bid's up on MK Ultra. We can't do
Let's
MK Ultra
switch the
one,
name.
two,
It's not
five,
secret
and
anymore.
all the way. Yeah, like let's just do MK search. Fuck it,
Yep.
keep moving.
We'll just keep it
But
under
the
MK so when we Google it, it comes up under the same thing.
the the ones that keep me up are the MK often and MK Chickwit. MK Chickwit was all about getting new information on drug developments in Europe and Asia and trying to get samples. But MK Chickwit went with MK Often, and MK Often studied bird migration and bird disease studies from the
I already see where you're
University of
going with this.
Pennsylvania State, and they wanted to use the drugs and like the mind control. They were trying to get it with these birds to basically just spread it. You know what I'm saying? Like drop it,
Yep.
but
Yep.
and not have planes doing it. So
So does that make you think of something that we lived through that was pretty big? Because that immediately makes me think of bird flu. Same thing with like mad cow. all that. Like those all sound like CIA names. Like they come up with all this cool shit, but then they come up with this nickname like, oh, Chickwit, often. Like it's all goofy. But then they come out with bird flu, mad cow, swine disease. Like it's like what the fuck? Where are we getting these names? Like I imagine there's a whiteboard meeting and they're standing around. They're like, okay, here's the project. Here's what would kind of like we think these would be funny, and we think these ones would be pretty cool. What if we put them together, and we get a funny and a cool? Like what do we think?
I can only imagine some of the shit that they actually come up with on that big.
Oh, dude, it's nuts. Like MKUltra sounds cool as shit.
Yeah, until you find out what it is, and then it's like, nah, not so cool.
Okay, but I'm gonna be that dude. It's cool, again, but what they did is not cool. Like the
Completely
shit we
agree.
found out, yeah, it's just nuts. And
I mean, sure, being able to mind control, cool. Using it on your own people.
right, not so cool.
I mean, I'm not like some huge humanitarian, but I shouldn't. I'm not a
Right,
huge fan of using it like they did on anybody, but you
exactly.
know,
Do it with the serial
I can
killers.
see its uses. Yeah, like
Yeah,
there are actually uses where it would be handy. But when you
yep,
start turning it on your own people, and we'll talk about in episode 2, part 2 of this, um, and the conspiracies that lead with using it on your own people.
yep,
Like there's
yeah.
obviously the
They used like I said earlier. They used
the
the
declassified
colleges.
the facts. Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like okay,
The, it
it
makes
is
you wonder where the line was drawn.
factual
Truly.
that they used it on their own people, but yeah, it's like okay, they used it on a doctor and then he killed himself, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it wasn't
They're like,
that wasn't because of us.
fuck.
He was just
Yeah, like the
upset.
list I have of the experiments of the type of people that were confirmed involved. You would not think that an army doctor would be number one. You got to think like in the list here. What I have is prisoners, so that kind of covers what I said earlier. Start with
Mhm.
those guys, but then you got to kind of be like, okay, well, what if these prisoners had something wrong with them, and now we gotta switch to something else. Let's go to hospital patients. Like they're gonna die anyways. We'll just start on them, and then from then they keep progressing. So it goes from prisoners, hospital patients, psychiatric patients, people who volunteered for this probably didn't read the fine print, unknowing participants, and military personnel. Like that's like we said. LSD, mescaline, psilocybin, alcohol, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, sleep deprivation. It's all of these things these people are experiencing. They're all terrible. It doesn't matter. It's a shit thing to go through, but it's crazy. So now we're up to the 60s. We'll just jump to that because there's all these sub projects.
So many, so many.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend Googling it unless you want it up on a watch list. We're both pretty sure we're already on one, anyways. But
Been on it.
yeah, so in the 60s now, this is when the public starts to get involved. So they're not trusting, the government even more than normal. To
Smart.
add to that, Vietnam starts. We know what happened there. The literal country split between pro-draft, anti-draft, pro-war, anti-war. The same shit we're experiencing now with a lot of different pros and antis and the vices and verses. It's always pro-Ukraine, pro-Ukraine, pro-Russia, pro-Palestine, pro-Syria, pro-Israel, all that shit. It is all of that I think truly started in the 60s, and it's because of all this shit starting. Nobody's trusting the government because they found out an army doctor was killed during an experiment they were running on him unknowingly. Vietnam, we're getting involved in that. Civil rights are going on. Like I mentioned, the big anti war protests. So this is when the CIA is like, fuck, let's stop this experiment. So they literally in the late 60s start shutting it down. Not all of it, but big portions of it. So what follows that is now people are looking into it. In 1973, under director Richard Helms, he says, "Get rid of this shit." Now, here's the speculation, and here's the facts. The fact was he ordered it destroyed because they were stored somewhere else. Um, that's what he thought. On top of that, he thought that a lot of the findings were just either inconclusive or just didn't give a result that was beneficial. They said, fuck it, get rid of it. Like, I'm sure there's a little snippet of like MK or Operation Blank, and it's going to say unsuccessful or do not do, and it involved what it involved. You know, you get a high enough clearance, you get the one without all the black lines in it.
Yeah,
But
I guess for me though, it's like his answer was just like, well, that's natural. It's because
yeah,
it's a what's the thing? Oh, crazy force of nature.
yeah, right. Something just it's just not worth it. We don't need this. Let's get rid of it. Well, then they find out that there's about 20,000 documents that survive, and this is how majority of the program gets exposed. Buying the prostitutes, buying the apartments, all the orders for whatever else, the secret donations they were making, and whatever. People are finding this. So now the church committee begins in 1975. This is the first time Congress investigates intelligence agencies on this massive of a scale. So people now learn, which what fuels people like you, there was illegal surveillance being done. There were assassination plots, and there were secret experiments. This is now they have to admit it. You can only be secret for so many things for so long. When you are surveying people, it's going to come out. When you're planning to kill people, it's going to come out. If there's secret experiments going on, it's going to come out. So, this shit is now public, and people are like, this is not cool. So, in 77, the Senate now is hearing all of this. Surviving records, those 20,000, they're investigating it and examining everything. Now, Sidney Gottlieb testifies. This is when you get the CIA itself to admit they were doing secret drug testing, LSD experiments, behavioral research, and hundreds of institutions were involved. A lot of this still may be unknown, and that's where episode 2 is going to come in because of so many records being destroyed. There's so much about this, and I'm gonna end this the same way I always do. I'm gonna give you a nice. I'm gonna fluff up your pillow, get your blanket out, and I'm gonna start reading you the bedtime story that'll help you go to sleep. What I'm going to say is, these things did happen. Yes, they're terrible. Yes, we've learned and benefited from some of it. Were the ways that we did it good? No. I will never say that experimenting on your own people is something acceptable. Unless it is, I will always stand behind experiment on the criminals. The ones facing life, they donate, be productive for once.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah. Um, the little thing to help you lay your head down on the pillow is these have had so many time to come out and be put before you that all of these things are happening no matter what. If you're small enough on the radar, it doesn't matter. We're all too low to be examined daily. They're after the big dudes. Because like I said at the beginning of the episode, there is no way. I don't give a shit if you assign one person 25 people. You're not covering the entire U.S. with one office. There would have to be so many people watching other people. Their life would be dedicated to it 24/7, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, sorry. No, that bedtime story sucked. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. Nobody's safe. All right.
Shit. Nightmare,
They
nightmare,
say that
nightmare.
mind control stopped. They say that mind control stopped. MK was done and over with in like 75.
Yeah.
Wrong. Okay. It's little
I don't
people
think
like me and
it's.
you that gets drugged by the CIA. You get put up in a tower in Vegas, and all
Yeah,
of a sudden
right.
you're framed for a mass shooting. Okay.
Yep.
You got no idea what happened, and then all of a sudden you're the
Your
headline,
life is over
and
and you're on the
your
headlines.
obituary is out there, and your story is whatever the news is told. Okay, I'm telling you, folks,
That.
you can't trust them. Watch your back.
Yeah.
The
They're
government will
going to
get you.
get you. They're making the frogs gay. All right, Alex Jones, get back in your cage, bud. Fuck. If they're using mind control, they're not using it on us. And if they are, it's for one thing. And you know what? I'm going to do the opposite of you, and I'm going to trust that it's being used for the greater good. And if it's not, and I'm wrong,
Which you are.
it doesn't matter anyways. So with that being said, episode 2, we're getting into the crazy shit, more in-depth experiments without explanations, everything of that nature. And the reason that that's going on is because, again, all of this is in the public's eye again, and they think that there's more shit that hasn't been said.
Because there is. Because there is. Because there is.
Right. Well, that's what you're thinking. What I think is the same thing as always. If the answer doesn't look good enough to us, if they bring out that platter and they say, this is your dinner tonight, and it's not a T-bone steak with the best marbling, a fat cap, a good twice-baked potato with the perfect homemade butter in it, and, whatever other side you preferred, if it's not that and it doesn't meet your expectations, you're starting conspiracies. The cook hates you. The waiter doesn't like you. Whatever it may be. This is just where if your tinfoil comes off, you're immediately going to say, I don't trust the government. So, Noah, go to the store, buy more tinfoil, because next week, I know you're going to come unglued.
It's going to be a good one.
I agree.
Be prepared, folks.
Yep. And with that being said, this has been Blazed and Confused. Peace.
Peace.